As a reward for successfully completing his investigation, S.T.A.L.K.E.R was offered a promotion to colonel and the position of mission coordinator. He declined the opportunity to work at the HQ and submitted a personal request to be sent to the zone as the USS Permanent Observer. The information about the development of psi devices obtained by S.T.A.L.K.E.R alerted USS commanders. All the information gathered on X-designated laboratories was removed from military archives and filed as top secret. All personnel working in the zone were ordered to prevent the disclosure of information about the laboratories at any cost. Several experimental samples were made on the basis of technical documents for Item 62. Following a set of test trials, it was decided not to go ahead with large-scale deployment of the weapon due to the high cost of ammunition. Nonetheless, it would be reasonable to assume that further development of the Gauss rifle is ongoing. Skadovsk became home to any and all who could reach it. Fierce stalker resistance did not stop the bandits from making regular and ultimately unsuccessful attempts to establish their so-called order on the ship. Despite this ongoing struggle, the Skadovsk carried on its unique brand of life. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. Bloodsuckers from the lair near the Skadovsk found the way to the ship. When bloodsucker attacks began to occur even in broad daylight, it was decided to mount an assault on the lair. Unfortunately, the hunters failed to advance deep into the tunnels, and soon afterwards, a wave of bloodsuckers annihilated all the ship's residents in one fell swoop. A fragile balance was reached between freedom and duty squads at Yanov Station. Tired of the endless struggle, fighters of both factions started leaving their squads and joining the Free Stalkers. Professors Herman and Ozersky were forced to cut short their scientific research in the zone due to a lack of data. On returning to the outside world, the two scientists proceeded to engage in unrelated work. Gary's stories about the Army's fate scared stalkers away from Pripyat. The few who dared to venture into the city ran into inexplicable phenomena, which added further dark strokes to an already gloomy picture of the dead city. The area around Yanov Station gained a reputation for being one of the most dangerous places in the zone. Fewer and fewer stalkers make it back from raids, many dying at the hands of mutants within view of the camp. One of those missing is Trapper, who set out to track down a chimera on what appears to have been his last hunt. The rumors of Zulu's fate reached the leader of Duty, General Veronin. Counter to most expectations, Veronin decided to posthumously award Zulu with the Silver Shield, Duty's highest decoration. Stalkers at Yanov Station still think of Vano now and again, recording his lightheartedness and skills. While some aspects of his life are usually up for debate, one thing is clear. With his luck, looking for a road to Pripyat was a big mistake. The list of casualties suffered in the course of Operation Fairway was amended with yet another name. Senior Lieutenant O.N. Sokolov died in the line of duty. Having overcome his alcoholism, Cardin left the Skadovsk. Stalkers said he went to look for his missing friends. Several days later, he returned, suffering from wounds and radiation poisoning. As soon as his wounds healed, he left the zone for the second and final time. Strelok's knowledge was lost with him. The information he found at the Chernobyl NPP, which could have been used to gain a better understanding of the zone, remained forever within its borders. It seems the zone knows how to keep its secrets. Colonel Kowalski, commander of the Stingray Group, found his resting place not far from the majority of his squad. Their bodies were taken in by the zone, with nothing but old faded photographs left to remind the country of their sacrifice.